ואני נסעתי לך משמרת תרמויסאי, איסה בש"ס, בשתי תרומויס הקושט מדבר. אחס תרומת טהרה ואחס תרומת טמאה. ואומר רחמנו שלכל תהיה להסיק תחת תבשילך. So the pasuk says, Loshen Rabbim, משמרת תרמויסאי. So Chazal teach us that we're talking about two different trimois, that you should keep two trimois, the trimet tameya and the trimet tahira. Both are yours, because you're allowed to be nahana from a trimet tameya, so you can use it to cook, for example, the other truma. The trimet tahira can be cooked with trimet tameya because it's mutar ba'anor. הנה יש להם לפי אני הזדעתי רמז בזה על פי הידוע מהזרע הקודש, is yira ve'is yira. There's different types of yira shemaim. There's different types of yiras Hashem. Lav kol apin shovin. Not all types of yira are the same. So many people have yira shemaim, but everybody has yira shemaim of his own kind, of his own way, of the way that he developed it. And there's different terminologies of these yira shemaim. There are different levels of yira shemaim. Some of them are better than others. So everybody needs to have a yira shemaim. Somebody who has no yira shemaim doesn't really have a connection to reality, because reality has the ability of getting it wrong built into it. So there needs to be a certain seriousness, a certain recognition of what a person is dealing with in order for him to be connected to the truth. But there's different flavors of how this manifests within the person, and some types of manifestations can become extremely painful. And those obviously belong to the Sitra Achra. Those are what the Zohar calls Ritzia Busha. It's a stick that HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses to hurt bad people. So when a person knows that he is not bad, he better go learn how to stay away from the stick so that he doesn't get hurt. So the one who doesn't deserve to get hurt shouldn't be getting hurt. So that's a type of yira that's called the yira sa'oinish, and there's other manifestations of that yira that can be bad, but let's continue inside. Let's see where he's going with this. He says, "Is yiras Hashem, v'hu ha'tzorah shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shesham HaKadosh Baruch Hu miniach kol etzroisav," meaning that if somebody has this yira, he gains access to all the oitzos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to all the different possibilities of manifestation, to all the different mind frames and mindsets that a human being can have access to. That he gains access to by having the appropriate yira, the yiras Hashem that's called etzorah shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Da'ainu, that any midah the person is under, because a person is constantly going through different midahs, and these are represented in his moods. So he's not always feeling the same way. The different parts of him that manifests in different times, these are called his midahs. So his midahs, the more one midah is active, the more you get a taste of that midah. Sometimes he's, let's say, in the midah of chesed, and he's feeling love, and he's feeling excitement and closeness and intimacy, and sometimes he's in the middle of gvura, and he's feeling distance, he's feeling frustration, or he's feeling different types of dinim, or different types of manifestations where he needs to protect himself, and that's the mode that he's in. And a person needs to know how to use all these modes. It's not a chachma to run away from any of these modes, because they're all real and they're all necessary. They were created by somebody who knows what he's doing. But how to manifest those modes with the words that we're going to put in order to create within our minds a way of using that midah, those words can be very, very wrong. And then the midah, which is there to serve the person, can turn against the very person that it's supposed to serve, and obviously the people around him. So the midahs that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us, they rotate as the different planets rotate, as the different times rotate, and at different events in our lives rotate, the midahs rotate within us. Different things, different occasions, different times bring out different midahs. And we have to learn how to use all of these midahs in the appropriate way. So somebody who has the right yira, somebody who's found the proper connection with reality, where he has the appropriate yira, he gains access to all his midahs, because now whatever midah is active within him, he will know how to manifest, he will know how to create with that midah the appropriate things, and he'll know how to interact with people, and he'll know how to interact with himself, and the activities that he should do while he has certain midahs, and so on and so forth. So that's by gaining access to the proper yira, because the yira is called the key to the door. The proper yira means the proper key. person that he wants to go into a heichal sichli, he wants to go in and recognize something or experience something. So by the door, they're going to ask him for the key. And what's the key? What are you afraid of? How do you address your fears? And if the person doesn't have the appropriate answer to that question, he can't go into that heichal. So most of the heichalas of Kedusha that are filled with tanugim, that are filled with recognitions that are deeply pleasurable for the person, we don't have the right keys for today. That's why we're in Galus. Because our minds are not developed in the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants a human being to have his mind developed. And therefore we find friction, we find problems. We don't find the right way to behave in order to get that blissful experience that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world for. L'sanag el Hashem, that a person should be just able to contemplate the fact that he's alive, able to contemplate the fact that he's embodied and he has all this potential and all these possibilities in front of him. And that alone, that thought alone, that recognition alone should fill him with bliss. Because rationally, that's what should happen. That's the way a human being is programmed. And it's something that a human being can understand, that it makes sense that if somebody has such a big gift, he should be blissful, he should be enjoying it. But the reason that's not happening is because we don't have the key to the heichal. What does it mean, the key to the heichal? We don't have the appropriate fear in order to get into these blissful conditions, because our fears are dressed up in such low-level fears that we can't ascend, we can't go up to the higher recognitions, to the higher realizations, to get close to the Creator, Kaviyachol, because the Creator is oiz v'chedva b'mkoimoi. He is always in bliss. He is always powerful, with full power and full strength. But we don't necessarily have access to that chamber. And when we don't have access to that chamber, we can't manifest from that place. And then we manifest broken manifestations. We manifest problems. We manifest complaints. We manifest frustrations because we don't have access to that bliss. And now we're just trying to justify our suffering based on the little things that go right and go wrong in our day. And it becomes a big problem, becomes a challenge. So the proper yira, the appropriate yira, means that a person can ascend to a very high level because he has the keys to all the doors. He's not afraid of the things that don't exist. Because at the bottom line, a wrong fear is a fictitious fear. It means that the nefesh created for itself a limitation that's not in reality. That limitation doesn't really exist. It only exists within that person. That person alone came up with that limitation because he has such a low level of perception of what's happening here that he assumes that the Creator wants him to suffer like this. So he puts on himself restrictions and limitations in accordance with his beliefs of what he thinks the Creator wants. And this happens unconsciously. But at the end of the day, he lives in that suffering. He lives in that pain. He has to bathe in whatever consciousness he's created for himself. And a lot of this happens at a very young age, when other people are dictating for him how he's supposed to feel about himself. And that's where it can go very, very wrong. Because the people who sometimes are supposed to be the ones that are giving you the proper manifestations, that are teaching you how to do it right, they might be the ones who plant the seeds that's later going to cause a lot of havoc. It's going to cause different fears to be inside the person so that he can't ascend. And when he can't ascend, he's going to come with tainus to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why did you create me like this? Why am I suffering? But the world provides for everybody the opportunity to ascend. In fact, it's in our nature to ascend to a blissful reality, if not for the different impediments that were placed in our way. So we have to go through our younger years, we have to go through society's belief system in order to even get to adulthood, in order to get to our own mind, in order to get to have the ability to think. And by then our mind is already filled with so many pre-existing conditions that it's causing us to stay in a very limited level, that we can't really ascend the way that a human being was supposed to. But the Nevi'im, Moshe Rabbeinu, for example, he lived in a condition where he could at will go into such a blissful state that he could see the world the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees it. Like the Pasuk says, Pe'el pe'adaber boy, l'shchina medaberes mitoch geroinu shel Moshe, that he was talking because he was in such a state that he was seeing reality the way that the Creator created reality. And for that, the person has to be in a place where he's completely at peace with what's real. He's completely accepted everything that is. Otherwise, whatever he hasn't accepted is going to come between him and the Creator, and he won't be able to be in that state where he recognizes that everything is good. And then that, again, that limits him, because that creates fears, that creates limitations, and then the keys are lost. So when the time comes, every single person will be in that mindset permanently. That's going to be the permanent mindset of every person in Klal Yisrael. Because like it says, that people will see HaKadosh Baruch Hu ayin ba'ayin, which means that they will recognize the real settings for the human brain. And when the brain works the way that it was designed to work, that means seeing HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That means seeing life the way that it was intended to be seen. That's seeing his vision, seeing his reality, seeing what he created the way that he wants it to be. And that's something that we all have b'koyach right now. But we will only be able to bring it out b'poyal if we will have the formula, if we will have the understanding of what it takes to get there. So it says that the proper yira is the key. And what's the proper yira? The yira sa'emes. It's being afraid of the truth, recognizing the truth. Shelo al manas lekabel pras. Meaning you don't do something right now because there's a future event that's going to justify it. You do it right now because you've already synchronized with reality. You want what's good for reality. You don't want anything else. You love everything that's real so much that you want to do what's right for it. And therefore, you have no cheshbon of lekabel pras. Whatever will happen later, I will decide on later. Right now, I only have this moment in front of me, and I want to do what's best for reality in this very moment. How can I help the world the most in this very moment? How can I help humanity the most in this very moment? And this starts with taking care of yourself, becoming yourself a better person, a positive person, upgrading yourself, because humanity can use some upgraded human beings. So many people are so busy with such little things that their energy is wasted. Humanity needs people to step up to help us, because we're in dire trouble. We don't understand who we are and how we need to behave, and we're causing each other a lot of pain. So we need to wake up and stand up for ourselves, because this is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world for, so that we, the intelligent species on this planet, can figure out how it works. That's the point, that's the purpose. So we need to wake up and figure out what is really best. How do you go about making the life that's best for human beings? And this gets very tricky when it comes to the Torah, because the simple part of the Torah is the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs you need to do as you're told to do. That's simple. You figure it out. There's many people who worked on this. There's people who summarized and re-summarized and made it shorter and easier. And that's the part that you need to do. That's simple. But that's not really what the Torah is about. The Torah is not about the doing. The Torah is about a certain belief, a certain understanding, a certain approach to what's real. And all the doing, and all the saying, and all the writing is allegoric speech that's speaking to our subconscious until this very day. So when we do a mitzvah, we're trying to speak to our unconscious mind. We're trying to speak to our imagination, and that's why we're using objects to do it. Now this was a common practice back in the day. This was very known, that wise people spoke in allegory, because nature speaks in allegory. And this continued for a long time, that people understood this for thousands of years. And with the Greeks, it died. After the Greeks, there was no longer allegory. Allegory was no longer a language. We removed ourselves from nature. It was all about letters and words that are not necessarily built on any concrete concept behind them. They're just wild. Olam shel tohi, worlds of nothingness, worlds of broken down understandings and concepts that people are slumbering within and working so hard for those worlds, to build those worlds, but those worlds can never stand. No matter how much energy you put into those worlds, they can never stand, because they're olam shel tohu. They're not based on reality. They're not based on human nature. So the language of allegory, the language of nature, the way that HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks to us, the way that our bodies is built, that language was how the Nevi'im always spoke. And anybody that ever learns Navi could see this. A Maria Nevi'ah, a Chizoyan, came in allegoric speech. Sometimes it even came in a dream. which is allegorical. And we see the dreams constantly in the Torah, right? We see the different dreams and we see how we interpret the allegory into realities. The Torah speaks about this constantly, and this whole Chachma has been lost. So when we look at the Torah, to understand the mitzvahs, to understand what you need to do, that's a simple part. Leave that to people who have the practical knowledge that they can do it and they can figure it out, and then we'll know what to do. But more importantly, what are we supposed to believe? How are we supposed to feel? For that, we need real geniuses. For that, we need people who can actually understand. It's not enough to have a Chamor Noises firm. You need a human heart to do that, to interpret what it really means. And that people have neglected. That people have forgotten. Everybody thinks what it means differently, and nobody really has. There is no real way of knowing what the Torah means. What does it want beyond the doing? Because if we do, and we don't know what it means, then we're not building the world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to build. We're not behaving the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to behave, and guess what? At the end, we won't even have the energy to do what it says we're supposed to do, as we can see. How many people speak Lashon Hara? Stam, bli cheshbon. Because it's not real to them. They don't have the energy, they don't have the desire, they don't know what they're doing or why. It loses all its power, it loses all its meaning. So the Torah always had the neshama in it. The neshama of the Torah is the real Torah. The dressing has to be there, because how else are we going to do it? But it's not the truth. As we can see, the Avos were Mekayim Kol HaTorah Kula, but they weren't Mekayim it the way that we are Mekayim it. They were Mekayim it in their own way. Like we know that Yaakov Vini by the maklois, when he was mefatzel and he was peeling off, so there he was Mekayim Mitzvah's Tefillin. So the sichlius of the Tefillin was in there, but the actual Maaseh, that we do in an allegoric language. Everything is here to tell us wisdom, to tell us something. That's why it's here. There's a reason we tie certain parshiyos on our heads. There's a reason it's on parchment. There's a reason we write letters with ink. And there's a reason we tie it, and there's a special kesher, and everything means something. It's the meaning of those things that is the Torah. It's not the doing of it that's the Torah. The doing of it is the mechanism of giving it over, is the mechanism of keeping it alive. Just like a human being needs a body, so too the Torah needs a doing. But a human body is not a human being only if it has a soul in it. And the human doing is not a Torah and is not a mitzvah only if it has a soul, only if it has understanding, if it has a kavanah. If it has something that it means beyond the simple doing, then it's Torah. Otherwise it's just Maaseh Behema. It doesn't do. The Chaim HaKadosh says this very clearly. A person who hasn't woken up to the level of Ruach, he's not a Baal Nefesh, so his acts cannot affect the Olam Elyonim. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have the mindset. He doesn't have the human heart to create. A human heart can create. A dead heart does not create. If the heart is somewhere else and the mind is and the mouth is talking, that creates havoc. That creates problems. It doesn't create a tefillah. It doesn't create a better manifestation of life. It doesn't create a better manifestation of reality. Only when we live in Olam Atov, only when we live in a world that doesn't exist, in a Greek blabber of letters that has no real coherent meaning, can we believe that simply doing is going to help anything. Because the Torah has a neshama, the Torah has a pnimius, the Torah has a purpose. And we see this throughout the generations, that there were always people who were trying to emphasize the doing as if that alone will be enough. And it's usually people who don't have the ability to understand more. They don't have the sensitivity. They don't belong in that line of work. Like there's a Mesorah that Zechariah Hanovi was Am Haaretz. He didn't know how to learn. There's a story in the time of the Baal Shem Tov that he said on a certain tzaddik in Europe that he has been around already for over 100 times that he's been Megulgul. And every time he's a big Talmid Chacham, but he always gets it wrong. And by Zechariah Hanovi, he was a big Talmid Chacham, and he said, Zechariah Hanovi, you Am Haaretz, you think you're going to come tell us Nevuah? And he smacked him across the face. And then the barbarians went and beat up Zechariah and killed him. So this tzaddik, with his Gavus Halev, he caused Zechariah to get killed. So he's been coming back again and again and again like that. Because people who know words, they think they already know reality. But there's a huge gap between knowing words and knowing reality. Reality is real. Reality works. Words, everybody understands differently. The only time we know if the words are real is when it actually creates something, when it actually comes down into reality, when it works, when it proves itself. Then we know that those words have been properly understood. So to understand what the Torah believes, how the Torah looks at life, what does it mean, Anochi Hashem Elokecha? What's the appropriate understanding of those words? What's the appropriate experience of those words? That's the whole Torah. That's the whole mitzvah. That's everything. If the Anochi Hashem Elokecha was off base, then there's no mitzvah. Nothing was ever done over here. Because the person was serving the wrong entity. His mind wasn't directed in the right direction. He wasn't helping. And this is how we know from Chazal that Torah mitzvahs can also go to the Sitra Achra. Just because Torah mitzvahs doesn't mean it's going to Tzedakah Kedusha. It depends who is doing them. And why is he doing it? For what? So that's what he's saying, that the yira of the emes, shelo emanas tekabel pras, to look at the truth the way that it is, then you don't need any promises from anybody. You don't need to think about heaven, to think about hell, to think about how it's going to turn out, what is going to happen. If every minute you do what's right, then you will be taken care of automatically. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the one who created it, designed it that way. He made sure that his friends get taken care of. Who is his friend? The one who loves what he created. How you mechabed HaKadosh Baruch Hu? By being mechabed your words, your interpretation of some words, that's what you're mechabed? That's no different than all the other people. They also have words. But when you can be mechabed reality, what he actually created, that's your test. If you're on the same page with him. Or you're just off on your own little trip. So that's the yira that a person has because he recognizes that the truth is true. And therefore he's going to follow it, no matter what it means. If the truth means that he has to leave what he till now believed, then he'll do it in an instant because he knows that not believing the truth is a death sentence. It's only a matter of time. Nobody gets away from the truth. So a person needs to be ready to do anything it takes for the truth. Because that's service of Hashem. Hashem can only be the truth. It cannot be found anywhere else. So it says that type of yira is begin the Rav v'shalit ikr v'shoshe d'chol ha'omen. He's the ikr and the shoirish of all the worlds. He's the neshama of these worlds. He lives inside these worlds. He's called Yochid Chayo Elamim, the single one who is the life of all the worlds. He's the one that lives within. He dwells within. Just like you dwell within your body, he dwells within you and within all of us. Because this is his reality. He made it. Everything that's alive in it is his life force giving it life, making it alive. The two emotions, yira and ahava, they fill up all the worlds. From one end of the world to the other end of the world. There's not a single thing that doesn't have yira and ahava associated with it. Because that's our mind. Our mind is constantly associating things with other things. And there's either going to be a fearful connection or a lovable connection. Either you're going to be pro something or against something, attracted to it, or you're going to be repulsed by it. So this is the nature of the human mind. And as the human mind calls it, that becomes his name. That association happens also in the collective. That the names, that the relationships that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has with the things in reality depend on the human being. The human being is the one that does the labeling. However he labels it, that becomes the reality of the thing. So the reactions that a human being gets from certain animals, from certain reptiles, from certain whatever, this becomes the allegoric code of their meaning, because this is what it's ma'orer in your mind. So when Chazal, or when the Nevi'im, or when Moshe is talking to your mind, he talks in the code of these animals and what he knows they're going to activate within your mind. He already knows that this animal is going to activate something in your mind, and this is how he's using it. This is the language. So he's pushing buttons in your mind with every word that he is saying. With every word that you're reading, a different file in your mind has been opened. Some of these files are filled with love, and some of these files are filled with fear. And every word that you hear, every word that you listen to, has different emotions associated with it, and these emotions are going to be created by these words automatically. This is how the human mind works. This is how exposed we are through our ears to any intruder that wants to start talking and creating within us and taking us on all kinds of wild rides. Some of these rides we stay on for 70 years. From the moment we heard it in Gan, all the way till after we pass and we notice, oh, that wasn't true? Oh, now you tell me? So the Yira and the Ahava, they fill up the whole reality. So the Yira and the Ahava could also come down to a place where it becomes lost, where it goes into what's called the klipos, where it becomes your enemy. A fear or a love that's your enemy. Love can also be your enemy. When you love something you can't have, there's no bigger enemy. If somebody recognizes the real truth, the real fear, then all the other fears are gone. And all the sins are gone. Because the sins, they take life force from our fears. If we have no fear that's low, that's a sitra achra type of fear, then the sins cannot suck from us energy. And this is the concept of kapara. This is why Yom Kippurim, we go into such a high place where there's no fear, where we recognize we come to a place of tshuva, a place of bina, and that's why we allow the tzibur to lispalelim avaryonim, which we don't allow during the year, because on that day we have no fear. We have no fear of evil. Like we know the word Satan is Begematria 354. And this represents that the Satan, 359, sorry. This represents that the Satan has, for every day of the year, he has his koyach, his power. Actually, the word has-Satan, there's 364. And he's missing one day, which is Yom Kippur. On that day, he has no shlita. And therefore, on that day, we have no fear. And that's why we start Kol Nidre, al das akol, das amokam, al das akol, and matirin lispalim avaryonim. That we allow the avaryonim to come in. We have no fear of evil on this day. And because we have no fear of evil, all our sins get forgotten. This is what it means, a real kapara, that a person goes into a place where he recognizes, like we've mentioned before, lifnei mi atem mitaharen and mi mitahar eschem, which is the bina, which is Yom Kippur. The me, who are you working for? Who did you offend? That who, if he wakes up, he can be mechaper all the avonis. Can be mechaper all the different pains, all the different traumas, all the different offenses that have been done towards him. All the different offenses that we do because we don't understand the sichlius of the mitzvahs. We're just busy with the actions and we forget the sichlius and we offend the neshama. We offend our own neshama and other neshamas on a daily basis, over and over and over again, because we don't even understand the Torah, we don't understand its language. So for that, we find kapara on that day when we wake up and we recognize, you know what, at the end of the day, if we're going to hold the grudge, then we're only going to be creating more negativity. We're only going to be causing more damage. Like we ask in the slichas, Shi'eini v'riv al timtach. Help us and don't drag on the fight. We've been fighting long enough. So when somebody comes to that yira, that is the appropriate yira, that he's living in the truth, he wants to do what's good for reality, he doesn't care about schar v'oinish, then his sins can't touch him. He's in a place where his sins have no access. Ki malchusay bakol mishala. The malchus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the one who created, is moshel in everything, in every corner, in every place. V'hu, this year is called the Even. Even the moches letzalma, by Nebuchadnezzar, by Daniel. There's a stone that breaks the tzelem, and this is this yira. That's the stone that breaks it, the appropriate yira, that a person knows that he's not here in order to make deals with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's not here on a business trip. He is here on a rescue mission. The rescue mission is help people suffer less. Make this world better. And when somebody's on that mission, then the cheshbonos don't come into his mind. The yira won't be dressed up in schar v'onish. And schar v'onish, as is known, is the Eitz Hadas Tov v'Ra. When a person is busy with schar v'onish, he goes into a world of Tov v'Ra, he goes into a world of distinction where nobody's come out alive from there. It's the tree of death. So when a person connects to the appropriate yira, he's not afraid of his punishment because he's here to make the world a better place. He has no other cheshbonos. What comes next, we'll worry about then. When a person is not here to make the world a better place, he needs to be chained up in schar v'onish. And so it will be. But a person who is here to make the world a better place, he has no business with schar v'onish. He already wants to do what's right. He already does not want to offend reality. You don't have to threaten him. And that's how a person can get rid of the Ritzuah Busha, which was created for the Chayovim, was created for the Poshim Yikosh Libam. So a person who wants to do what's right, who is looking for the truth, he need not worry about that. He need worry about how does he do better? How does he make the world better? How does he make his rescue mission a success? Because the relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not a negotiation. It's not a business deal. It's not how am I going to get the most schar. That type of relationship is certainly not going to get you the most schar. V'hu Turav, Haina Chochma Shenikra Har, it's a big mountain, which is the wisdom. V'zei Reishis Chochma Yiras Hashem. This means that the beginning of Chochma is the proper Yiras Hashem. Because otherwise a person is kicked out of all the Echolas HaChochma. If he doesn't have the appropriate Yira, then he's never going to get into the Echolas. He's never going to get in to recognize what's really going on here. And this is something that a person needs to work on before he works on anything else. It says, Reishis Chochma. It's the first thing you need to do is Yiras Hashem. Get your Yiras Hashem straight. Like Shlomo HaMelech says, Im tchapsenu kakesef, echamat moinim tachpesenu. If you look for it like money and like hidden treasure, oh, it's tov in Yiras Hashem. Then you will understand Yiras Hashem. It's not something you'll understand lightly. It's not something your Rebbe is going to teach you in Cheder and you're done. If your Rebbe could teach it to you in Cheder, it's not Yiras Hashem. Be certain of it. Shlomo HaMelech, the Chochem Mikol Odom, says, Im tchapsenu kakesef, echamat moinim tachpesenu. All tov in Yiras Hashem. You think you're going to learn it in Cheder? You think your Mashgiach in Yeshiva taught you Yiras Hashem? Shlomo HaMelech worked his entire life for only one purpose. He had only one interest. He was obsessed with only one thing. Wisdom. That even though HaKadosh Baruch Hu offered him anything he wants, he offered him 3 options. He chose wisdom over everything else because this, he knew, was the key to life. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, you ask for the right thing, you'll get all of it. Because with the key, you will go wherever you want. Chochmah is the key. V'zeu Yireis Hashem b'ni melech. V'mshoinem al tisarev. Rotze loimer. Yireis Hashem u'melech. Have fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Why? Begin the melech Hashem achusa b'kol misholah. Recognize that he is already in charge of everything. He is the Iker and the Shoirish of all worlds. He is the life force within all worlds. He is the being that is all worlds. Fear him for that, and only for that. Because he is the truth. And you want to make his situation better, because he gave you the power to do so. And then you don't have to worry about what happens after. That's when you're called B'ni. You're called Kivyochel, the son of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls you his son, you don't have to be afraid of anything. Du melech Hashem achusa b'kol misholom. V'imshoinim, hainu oisam hamishana mesiris Hashem l'irich etzoinis. Those who are afraid of HaKadosh Baruch Hu for other reasons, al tisarevim on. Don't get mixed up with those people. They're just bad energy. Stay away. Rak sheti yirascha yir pnimis. You have to have a pnimis digiyire, v'ikrius. Begin the yirav v'shalit. canal, like we mentioned before. V'hu anikra yira tohoira. Like it says, Yiras Hashem tohoira omedes load. A proper fear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu will stand forever. Why? Because a person who has recognized it in the appropriate way, he won't be afraid of anything else. He can no longer be afraid of anything else. The person who has appropriately recognized who is alive within this world cannot be afraid of anything else. And that's why it's Yiras Hashem Tohoira Omedes Load. Ki Tohoira, it's pure. V'niksa v'nizra zera emes. A person like that, he can create real creations. He can speak real diburim. He can create appropriate children. V'loshen tori k'moy tor yoymed. Ha'ineshem misaleket v'doicha kol yiras rois. It clears the person out from all the toxic energies inside of him. This type of yira, over time, as he goes through different matzovim and different midas and different sides of his moods and different sides of his personality, and he sticks to this Yiras Hashem Tohoira, he teaches to everybody inside of him that there's only this yira that he has no other yiras, then that changes his whole pneumius. It changes the person, he becomes a different person. It cleans out all the other yiras. Because every other yira that presents itself to the person, he says, what, I'm going to ruin my neshama because of you? He's afraid to do it. The fear that he has for reality is greater than the fear that he has from not thinking of whatever he thinks might be bothering him. Because he recognizes that this fear is going to cause damage to his ruchnius. It's going to cause damage to his pneumius. It's going to cause damage to his potential. So the fear of hurting reality, the fear of hurting his neshama, is bigger in his eyes than the fear of not having something physical or something happening to him in the world. His fear of ruchnius is greater than his fear for gashmius. A mind like that can never be contaminated any longer. There's no kishuv that can have power over that mind. Because kishuv works mostly with fears. And even when a love comes with fears, kishuv works with fears. Even when love comes, if he sees that it's not the appropriate one, if he sees that it's not something that he can have, then he won't allow it in, because he has fear of hurting his neshama. He has Yiras Hashem Tohoira. He doesn't want to hurt himself. He doesn't want to hurt his ruchnius. He doesn't want to hurt the kli, the vessel that HaKadosh Baruch Hu placed in this world to be mashpia toiv, to be mashpia chaim, to be mashpia chesed. He doesn't want to hurt that vessel. Not with low fears, and not with unattainable loves. He knows his place. And a person like that, he has no cheshbon with schar v'onish. Schar v'onish will be when they'll be. He doesn't have to keep guessing. The Sitra Achra and the Sitra Degdisha are like two sisters. There's the story in the Zohar that the two sisters are being checked with the Meis Soita, and the one that was clean was drinking it. The other one just smelled it and she already fell away. So he's saying over here as a mashal that when the Yiras Hashem Tohoira comes in, so then the Sitra Achra already smells that this is not a place where he can have manifestation. The Sitra Achra just falls away. Yerecha nofeles. Because she's been cheating. She's been working for other people inside your mind. So the moment the person has proper Yiras Hashem, the person has proper Yira of reality, that those feelings within him that were cheating on him, those feelings within him that were really working for other interests that are not him, are suddenly going to fall away. They're suddenly going to disappear. They're suddenly not going to have any place in his heart any longer. And through that, he gets to a place where he can have access, like we said in the beginning, to all the echoles, to all the worlds that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, all the olamas hasichliim that he created for a person to be misanig, just like he created all the different foods for us to be misanig. He created all different sights, and he created different smells, different music. So he created different mindsets, different levels of consciousness, different ways of experiencing reality for us as well. But that we've lost access to. And the Torah wants to give us our access back. So we should all be zoiche, that we should be that we should learn the sweetness of the Torah. We should understand the message, not just look at the doing, not just be busy with the doing. Understand the sweetness of the Torah. We should all be Yoidei shemecho, v'lomdei sedesecho lishmo, v'vi az gol tzedek v'meher b'yameinu.
Oh my.